Alright guys, greetings. Welcome to the day 18 of the challenge of painting. Hope that everyone is enjoying their stuff. I'm going to try to make a concerted effort this afternoon while the boys are taking their afternoon resting time and watching Team Umizoomi on the TV. And see if I can get some people's videos watched. Because, in all honesty, I really need to do that instead of playing Diablo 3 or whatever while the boys are having fun. But still having fun, still getting Nagash worked on. And again, I really like the deadline of this painting challenge, that I have to get this done because it keeps me from being timid. And by timid, I mean, like yesterday I spent the whole day painting, well, my whole painting time working on the lines for Nagash's armor. And by not letting myself stop, because I wasn't really happy with the way it was going. I was like, I would have chickened out because it wasn't perfect and stopped painting. And because I said, well, this is the 18th of May now. I have just a few days left, relatively, before the end of the challenge, and Nagash must be completed because he can't not be completed. He's got to be done. Got to be done. Because I have sworn my oath, made my promises. I said what I meant, what I said, and I said what I meant. And a modeler is faithful 100%. But yeah, and so I went through with it. It's like, well, I started it. Let's finish it out and see how it looks. And it's not perfect, but I like it, and from a tabletop distance it'll make Nagash look really good. He's not going to be, I'm not going to win a golden demon, but then again, years ago I had resigned myself that I will never win a golden demon. Let's put Nagash here where everybody can see him getting his chest painted. It may take me a couple coats to get this undercoat done. But I have been keeping track of posts, so Tori narrowly missed his chance to get recruited into the Kingdom of Heaven. Or I don't know who it was that was shopping by his house. But I know that feeling. We live in a neighborhood near a Latter-day Saints church, and there are many times that the recruiters come through here seeing if we want to go to their church. And luckily I have my own, which is always the best deterrent. I often wonder if that actually works. Has anybody ever on a door-to-door salesman gone to church? But that's delving into religion, so we're going to skip that and go to the modeling question. And they say that's the quickest way to lose friends is to begin either talking religion or politics, which honestly are about the same thing for most people, at least in America. But today's question is, if you had a bazillion dollars, had unlimited money, and could buy any miniatures line that you wanted, what would I collect? And that's kind of a hard question because it just is. But because I tend to be a splurger and buy more miniatures anyway than I actually need, and so I kind of already have a lot of my dream armies in drawers. I'm also going to cheat on this question and present 2 things that I would like. But if I was just buying miniatures, I would like to buy the Kingdom Death 54mm miniatures that they have made. Which, if you haven't seen those, some of those are really interesting miniatures. They're all kind of creepy, surreal miniatures. Like there's the Dung Beetle Knight. He's a knight, and if you look at him, he looks like a knight in armor. And the closer you look at him, you realize he's a giant beetle, or his armor looks like dung beetle shells. And which, you know, it's kind of weird. Then you have like the really creepy stuff. Again, I don't know what it is with guys and model making, but there seems to be a trend for male model designers that all the women are like these crazy Playboy models. And so some of their 54mm things are they're for the guys who live in the basement and kind of breathe heavy while they, I'm gonna paint this model, yeah. And that's the closest they ever get to women. And then there's some of them that, you know, they paint those models as well, and they have a movie star lady upon their arm at all times. And you got people like me, whereas I'm a trophy husband for my wife, which makes you wonder what kind of competition it was if I was the trophy. Self-deprecating humor. But the Kingdom Death miniatures, they look like they would be interesting to paint. Like I really would actually like to try to paint the Dung Beetle Knight, because you would have to, I mean, you'd have to paint the shells, you'd have to make it look like beetle shell, which to me would be interesting because they have that kind of pearlescent effect and that sort of thing. That to me would just be a difficult and interesting paint job to do. So there's that. I would like to get those. And those, they stopped making the 54mm stuff. I think they're making a board game. And they're devoting all their attention to that. And so to get the 54mm, well, they called it the pinup line, you have to go onto eBay, and some of those are selling for like $150 each. The more lewd ones are. And I'm like, no, I'm not that interested. But if I had $1 million bazillion, bingo. But those would be fun to get. I would also like to, I would love to have an Empire army. And if I had an Empire army, I would make it a themed Empire army based off of the football teams of the SEC. I finally found my theme because of how I made fun of my friend who's an Auburn fan. Auburn, their mascot is the tiger, but they have an eagle that comes into the stadium, like a real eagle, and they fly it around the stadium before each football game. And their chant is War Eagle, so I always tease him because he's really teasable about this. Like, you know, well, at least the teams that I like, they can make up their mind who their mascot is. You know, they don't have a tiger, they don't have an eagle. Is that like a war tiger? You know, do they even know what they're doing? And he'd get so mad. He'd just get mad. And if you look at Carl Franz, his mount is like an eagle and a tiger mixed together. And as an ultimate trolling, I would, paint Carl Franz up in like the Auburn colors and call his mount Alvy instead of, Razorbeak, Griffin, what's Direclaw, Direbeak, what's his Griffin's name? Anyway, his mount instead of the actual color, and you could paint a section of great swords, make them paint them in Georgia Bulldog colors and say, they're bulldogs, they never back down, or paint the different orders of knights into different SEC team colors. For my team, my SEC football team has always been the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm born in Tennessee, and that crucial time in adolescence when you form a bond to a football team, if you ever do. Some people never achieve that point, which that's actually pretty good, I think. My youth director in church was a very strong Tennessee football fan. I mean, he had an orange and white car. He drove to every home game, and he always went to the Tennessee-Alabama game. And there's so many different colors for the SEC. You could paint. You could paint each unit a different SEC team color, and have the different. And it would just be a riot of color. The Army would have kind of a theme, and you could. I'm sure the Southern Elector Count, SEC. There you go, and bam! I mean, you've got your team, you've got your name, you've got all the fun and excitement of the SEC wrapped into a miniatures board game. And it would take a lot of time to get it all painted, and you'd have to match all the colors to the thing. But I mean, the best thing is your color scheme would be fixed. You could paint I would paint the steam tank Florida colors, because everybody hates Florida in the SEC, and so everybody could hate my steam tank. And the reason they hate Florida in the SEC is because Florida wins so much, and that's But for those of you who do not watch American football, in the South where I live, you can easily find guys who did not graduate from primary school, from high school, who are willing to fight until somebody is unconscious over their favorite college football team. And that's the level of fandom in the Southeast, especially for SEC teams. And that really looks nice, because you have that nice, that dead flesh look. And then I'm gonna, should I do Deneb Stone, or should I use basic skin tone, make him look very mummy. Oh, this is gonna be fun. But yeah, that's the American South for you. I love the South, but we have our quirks, and lots of them. Yeah, so that'll be fun if I ever get around to it. So that would be my Warhammer Fantasy that I would like to build. My second choice is I would like to make the Angry Marines. And if you don't know who the Angry Marines are, one of the forum that I found out about miniature wargaming is one of ill repute, because I was doing searches for Lord of the Rings models, and it brought me to 4chan. And if you know what 4chan is, you know that it is not a place that is delved into lightly. But luckily it took me to the Traditional Games Forum, which is one of the nicer forums with less Rule 34 going on. But they created a chapter of Marines. They're called the Angry Marines. And, Semper Furioso, always angry. And their traits are, they got the nice yellow. They look like Imperial Fists yellow, a little bit darker yellow than the Imperial Fists. And all their slogans are based on profanity. And also just being jerks. They're like frat boys in space. And it's very different than the normal Space Marine, the regal knight in space. And these guys are like they're just like the stereotype frat boys in space. That's honestly the best way to think of them. They're always out, you know, looking to rough people up, pick a fight, get drunk in the bars, all that sort of thing. And now I don't have to do all the. Ooh, be careful there, Daniel. That would be fun to do the Angry Marines. Can't do really an Angry Marine launcher, which their most effective weapon is they load an Angry Marine into a large cannon and fire him at the enemy. Yeah, because there's no rules for that. I guess you can just use drop pods, but they're melee heavy because they don't really care. Shooting's for wusses is one of their mottos. Do I need to do that whole staff in brown? We'll have to find out. We've got time. Don't have to do it now. But, man, I've already gone 16 minutes again. Dadgummit. Well, say la vie. Let's paint up the face and then we'll be done. But, you know, the Angry Marines and my SEC Empire Army would be fun. And then, as Ringo keeps trying to get me to do, there's always the Napoleonics. I would love to make an Austrian army from well, even the early Napoleonic era would be fun to make a nice Austro-Hungarian army. Yeah, because everybody does England or France. It'd be fun to do one of the things. Wouldn't want to do Russia because you'd have to paint so many guys. But then again, that's also why I picked the Wehrmacht instead of Soviet Russia in my bolt action era army. Yeah, there's Nagash's face getting picked out there. He'll get a golden crown and golden cheek plates. Because, you know, he's Nagash. Giant mummy Pope. Pope of the Undead, I guess is the best way to look at him. With vast apologies to Pope Benedict. Is it Benedict? No. Is it Benedict? No. Pope Francis. There, that's the guy who is it now. The guy I like. Benedict was okay, but he was old school Pope. I was also glad to see him retire instead of poping it out till he died. I think that's a better mechanism because there gets a point where you're just too old to be Pope, too old to do an effective job no matter what you're doing. But I'm wandering back into religion again. Let's run away from that, Daniel. Run away! Run away! Alrighty, well, we'll let this dry and see if I need to get second or third coats on these guys. And see what all needs to be picked out. But yeah, look at that belly. Get into my belly. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful 18th day. That everything you try out works wonderfully for you in the modeling world. That all your phone calls are friends and not telemarketers. And that your general day just goes well. Notice some spots I missed. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and upload this. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Monday, and I'll see you tomorrow.